and the precoder for the closed loop MIMO operations, and the estimation of this is the precoder estimation for the multi-user systems and the rank indication feedback. So today we will discuss the uplink channel sounding. So here in the uplink channel sounding, which is mainly used for the uplink channel quality measurement at the E node B. So here the sounding reference symbols, that is SRS, which is transmitted by the user equipment in the uplink for the E node B to estimate the channel state information, which includes the MIMO channel of the desired signal, signal to noise interference ratio, noise interference level, etc. So here the sounding reference symbol can also be used for the uplink time estimation and the uplink power control. So here the transmission is not allowed. So here in the uplink channels sounding, the E node B can either request in an individual sounding reference symbol, transmission from a user equipment, or to configure a user equipment to predictly sound symbol. So one of it is covered the 2, 5, 10, 20, 40, 160 and 320. So the specific SRS parameters, which include the starting physics assignment, duration of the so SRS periodicity and SRS bandwidth and frequency hopping bandwidth, and finally shift. These are the parameters which are systematically configured by the IR layers. So the parameters are that is the starting physical resource block assignment. These are the parameters systematically configured by the IR layers. So here in the uplink channel sounding, so the user equipment shall not transmit the sounding reference symbol in the following scenarios. So the two scenarios are, the first one is if SRS and the two scenarios are, the first one is if SRS, that is the sounding reference symbol, and the physical uplink control channel format, that is 2A or 2B, transmissions will happen to coincide in the same subframe. So when the coincide in the same subframe, so we are not transmit the SRS. So in the second scenario, so whenever the SRS and the ACK are non-ACK and the positive SR transmissions happen to coincide in the same subframe, so unless the parameters are simultaneous to AN and SRS in the SRS, which is true. So here if the user equipment is equipped with the two transmit antennas, so then it alternates between every time, so the SRS is transmitted. So only this allows the E node B to select the transmit antenna if the closed loop. So these are the uplink channel sounding. So next we have the power status reporting. So here is equipment to the serve the other information, such as the priorities allocated to which is useful for the learning process to determine which user equipment are time. So here the buffer status along with the so such as the priorities allocated to the different interval. So here the BSR, what is the buffer status report. Your voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here a buffer status report which is triggered in any of the following event occurs. So here the events are firstly we have the uplink data for the logical channel becomes available for the transmission, and either the data belongs to the logical channel with the higher priority than the priorities of the logical channels for which the data is already available for the transmission. So or there is no data available for the transmission for any of the logical channels. So in this case the BSR is referred to as a regular BSR. So next the uplink resource which are allocated and the number of padding bits equal to are the larger than the size of the BSR MAC control element. So here in this case the BSR is referred to the padding BSR. So expires and the user equipment as the data available for the transmission. So in which case in this case the BSR is referred to as the regular BSR. So at last the periodic BSR timer expires. So in which case the BSR is referred to as the periodic BSR. So here the buffer status is reported on for one radio bearer, that is the logical channels group basis, where the radio bearer group is defined as the group of radio bearers with the similar quality of services requirement and belong to the CQI. So here there are two types of PSR formats which are used in the LTE uplink. So the short BSR, so that reports only one radio bearer group, and long BSR that reports the multiple radio bearer groups. So here for the regular and the periodic BSR, so here if more than one radio bearer group has the data available for the transmission in the TTI where the BSR is transmitted, long BSR is reported. So otherwise the short BSR is reported. So here for the padding of the BSR, so we have when the number of bits are equal to the larger than the size of the short BSR, plus its subheader but smaller than the size of the long BSR plus its subheader. So here if the number of padding bits is equal to or larger than the size of the long BSR plus its subheader, so here the long BSR is reported. So similarly, when the BSR procedure determines the least one BSR which has been triggered, so then if the user equipment has been allocated to the uplink resources, so here the buffer status report is transmitted. So if a regular BSR has been triggered and the user equipment has not allocated to the uplink resource, so here the scheduling request for the BSR transmission, it is triggered. So here for the MAC PDU shall contain at most the one MAC BSR control element even when the multiple events are triggered. So in this case where the regular BSR and the periodic BSR shall have precedence over the padding of the BSR. So here all the triggered BSR shall be cancelled in the following two scenarios. So the following two scenarios. So when the link grant can update all the pending data available for the transmission, but it is not sufficient to additionally accommodate the BSR control element. So in the second scenario, so the BSR is included in the MAC PDO for the transmission. So this is about the buffer status reporting in the uplink. It is clear with the status reporting in the uplink, everyone? So next we have the resource, scheduling and resource allocation. So here in the scheduling and resource allocation, so the main purpose of the scheduling and resource allocation is to efficiently allocate the available radio resources to the user equipments to optimize a certain performance metrics with the quality of services required constraints. So in the physical layer procedure and scheduling, so the main purpose of the scheduling and resource allocation is to efficiently allocate the available radio resources to the user equipments to optimize a certain performance metrics with the quality of services requirement constraints. So here the scheduling algorithms for the LTE can be divided into two categories. First one is the channel dependent scheduling and the second one is the channel independent scheduling. So coming to the channel independent scheduling, so here the allocation of the resource blocks to the user equipment, it is based on the channel conditions. That is for the proportional fairness scheduler, max CI, that is the carrier to interference scheduler, etc. So coming to the channel independent scheduling, so here the allocation of the resource blocks to the user equipment is random and not based on the channel conditions. That is the round robin scheduler. So here in a multi-carrier system such as the LTE, channel dependent scheduling can be further divided into two categories. That is the frequency diverse scheduling and the frequency selective scheduling. So coming to the frequency selective scheduling, diverse scheduling. So here the user equipment selection is based on the wideband CQI. So here the PRB allocation is in the frequency domain is random. So that's why it can be exploit time selectivity and the frequency diversity of the channel. So here coming to the frequency selective scheduling. So here the user equipment selection is based on both the wideband and subband CQI and the PRB allocation which is based on the subband CQI. So here this can be exploited both in the time and frequency selectivity of the channel. So here in the channel dependent scheduling, so the channel dependent scheduling is one of the key feature which will provide the high spectrum efficiency in the LTE. So here the allocation of the RBIs, that is RBs to the user equipment, which is based on the channel condition. That is the proportional fairness scheduler, that is the maximum carrier interference scheduler. So here to better the exploit the channel selectivity, so the packet scheduler which is allocated in the E node B, which allocates the physical layer resources for both the downlink shared channel and the uplink shared channel of every TTI. So here the scheduling will depends heavily on the channel information which is available at the E node B. So which is provided by the uplink CQI reporting for the downlink channel and by the channel sounding in the uplink channel. So here the scheduler should also take the account of traffic volume and the QoS requirements for the each user equipment and which are associated to the radio bearers. So here due to the use of OFDMA or SCFDMA, so the LTE is available to exploit the channel variation in both the time and frequency domain, which is a major advantage compared to the HSPA. So in the channel independent scheduling, so here the main objective of the channel independent scheduling is to exploit the multi-user diversity to improve the spectrum efficiency. So here the allocate resource blocks to the user equipment which is random and not based on the channel condition. For example, the round robin scheduler. So here it should also consider such issues as a fairness and the QoS requirements. So here in addition, so the scheduling is tightly integrated with the uplink adaptation and the HRQ process. So here the scheduling algorithm is not standardized and it is vendor specific. So in the multi-carrier system such as the LTE, so the channel independent scheduling can be further divided into channel dependent scheduling can be further divided into two categories. As I told, that is the frequency diversity and the frequency selective scheduling. So next we have signaling for the scheduling in the downlink and uplink. So here both the downlink and uplink. So the E node B scheduler dynamically controls which time frequency resources are allocated to the certain user equipment. So here the resource assignments including the assigned time or frequency resources and the respective transmission formats which are conveyed through the downlink control signaling. So here the minimum size of the radio resources that can be allocated to the user equipment which corresponds to the two resource blocks which is of 1 millisecond duration in the time domain and 180 kilohertz in the frequency domain. So here both are localized and distributed resource allocations which are supported in the downlink. While in the uplink, so the user equipment, while in the uplink, the user equipments are always assigned to the contiguous resources. That is, only localized allocation is supported. So here in addition there is a strict constraints on the user equipment transmit power in the uplink. So minimum size of the radio resources that can be allocated to the user equipments corresponds to the two resource blocks, which is of 1 millisecond duration in the time domain and 180 kilohertz in the frequency domain. So coming so here E node B for the important formats, that is the after is here the source assigned. So based on the CQI E node B, so here the user equipment always enters the physical link control channel visible the cyclic redundancy check. So here similarly the user equipment shall decode the physical downlink control channel and any corresponding physical downlink shared channels according to the respective combinations. Which are denoted in the table. So this table indicates the PDCH and PDSCH configured by the CRNTI. So here the user equipment downlink transmission modes we have, and the DCI formats we have, and here we have the transmission scheme for the PDSCH. This is the physical downlink shared channels. So there are 7 modes. We are having the DCI formats and the transmission scheme. Make a note of the table. the user equipment the PD and it physical down shared channel is transport block 1 and the transport block 2 is transmit diversity is applied. So he carries the downlink scheduling assignment and the actions are necessary to decode and demodulate the data symbols. So while the two distributed override to the localized allocation type, that is the resource allocation type 2, which will provide a low override, alternate the cost of limited scheduling, flexibility. Other equipment shall feed depending on the physical downlink control channel DCA format when it is detected. So here the physical downlink control channel DCA format 1, 2 and 2A with the type 0 and type 1 resource allocation have the same format and are distinguished via the single bit resource allocation header field. So where the type 0 is indicated by 0 value and type 1 is indicated otherwise. So similarly, the PDCH with the DCA format 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D have the type 2 resource allocation allocation, while the PDCCH with the DCA format 1, 2, and 2A of the type 0 and type 1 resource allocation. So here the details for the resource assignment can be interpreted from the DCI for the different formats. So here to determine the modulation order and the transport block size. So the user equipment shall first read the first 5-bit modulation and coding scheme field, that is the IMCS in the DCA format. So based on which the transport block size, that is the TBS index can also be determined. So TBS can be determined the radius for the child in physical control channel, allocation, transmission of uplink channels. So here the only the can be allocated to the user equipment due to the can also be applied by providing so here the user equipment opens link source allocation as well as the frequency open from the uplink scheduling grant resource that is if it's a physical downlink control channel, which is the DCI format 0 in the subframe N, which is intended for the user, and it will adjust the corresponding physical shared channel transmission in the subframe N+4 accordingly. So here to determine the modulation order, so the redundancy version and the transport block size for the physical uplink shared channel. So here the user equipment shall first read the 5-bit modulation coding scheme, 5-bit modulation coding scheme and the redundancy version, that is CS in the DCI format. Yes, redundancy is created with the name. So that is declared in the initial similar to the downlink. So there is also a modulation overlap around the switching point here is equal to 10 or 11. Both are transport blocks from the IMCS and ITBS. So for the transport block size, which is assumed from the DCI format in the initial physical control channel. This is about the signaling for the uplink scheduling. So next we have the multi-user MIMO signaling. So here coming to the multi-user, so here the multi-user is used equipment to the signals in the order for the E node B to separate them. So here the uplink resource select is control channel using the DCI format 0. It will contain the 3-bit to indicate the cyclic shift in the reference signals, which are to be used by the user equipment. So here similarly, when the multiple user MIMO, which is used in the downlink. So here are the two rank 1 user equipments are multiplexed on the same physical resources. So unlike the single user MIMO in this case, so the power for each user equipment is ready by the 3 dB. So this is indicated for a field in the DCI format is used. So this is about mostly. So moving on to the next we have the cell search. So here cell search means the collective term representing the combined procedure measurement for the procedure of measurement, evaluation and detection process. So the cell search means the collective term which will represent the combined procedure of measurement, evaluation and detection process. So this is a very tightly related to the cell selection process because the user equipment goes through the search process first before it goes to the cell selection. So it also this process influence greatly on the energy consumption of the user equipment during the ideal mode. So here when the user equipment powers on, so it needs to acquire the time and frequency synchronization with the cell and to detect the physical layer cell ID of the cell through the cell search procedure or synchronization procedure. So here during the cell search, so the different types of information need to be identified by the equipment. Cell the so this is the diagram of the cell search process. So here a primary synchronization signal carrying the information about the physical AID within the cell ID group, that is NID whole power 2 is equal to 0, 1 and 2, and the secondary synchronization signal carrying the physical layer cell group ID ID power 1 and plus n ID power 2. And the different duplicates in schemes. So there is the TDD and so blocks, there is the 72 subcarriers which are centered around the DC subcarrier corresponding to the most narrow bandwidth which will support the LTE. So here so there are in each of the radio frame. So the arrangement of the primary and secondary synchronization which is done in the similar manner such that it is compatible with both the TDD and FDD frame structure. So coming to the first step, so the cell search step 1. So here the user equipment detects the symbol timing and the cell ID index, that is NID power 2, from which the primary synchronization signal. So here this is achieved through the matched filtering between the received signal and the primary synchronization sequences. So here are the three orthogonal sequences which are defined for the primary synchronization signal. So the cell ID index, that is NID or 2, can be detected by identifying the received sequence. So here the frequency and time synchronization which can be performed based on the primary synchronization signals. So here the OFDMA timing can be detected, but as there are two primary synchronizations, the signals transmitted in each frame that are indistinguishable, frame timing cannot be detected. So in the second step, so the user equipment will detect the cell ID group index. That is NID1, and the frame timing from the secondary synchronization signal. So here the index, that is NID or 1, which is detected by identifying the shift in the M sequence in the received signal. So for detecting the frame timing, so so the timing the first timing. Search. So the user equipment can connect the broadcast channel to obtain other physical layer information. For example, the system bandwidth, number of transmit antennas, and the system frame number. So coming to the fourth step, so the system information, which is divided into the master information block, that is the MIB, which is transmitted on the physical broadcast channel, and the system information blocks which are transmitted on the physical downlink shared channel. So here at this stage, so the user equipment will detect the master information physical broadcast channels. Uplink inter-cell orthogonality. So here the uplink transmissions from the different user equipment should arrive at the node. This is the achieved through the timing advance procedure. So coming to the fifth step, so here the timing obtained from the uplink received timing, and sorted by the E node B to the user equipment. So here the user equipment advances or delays its timing transmission to compensate for the propagation delay, and thus the signals, sorry, time aligns its transmission with the other user equipments. So here the timing advance command is not is on a per need basis with the granularity in the step size of the 0.2 microseconds, that is 16 into TS. So the fifth step, so the user equipment advances or delays in its timing of the transmissions to compensate for the propagation delay, and thus the time aligns its transmissions with the other user equipments. So here the timing advance command is on the have any doubts? the random two topics are very important.